Shalom everybody, welcome back, Shavua Tov. We're continuing with where we left off in Rav Noson's discourse in Likutey Halakhot, section Orach Chaim, the laws of Nefilat Apayim, discourse number 4, which again is based on Likutey Moharan lesson 24, and we're holding halfway in paragraph 19. The timing is amazing because it deals with Parshat Para Aduma, which we just read yesterday on Shabbat. Para, Shabbat, Parashat Kitisa. So Rav Noson is continuing to go into the concept of the Para Aduma and why we read it after the Simcha experience of Purim. So we went into a little bit details in the last class that basically a Jew should, even in the areas where the Torah gives him the permission and the gateway and the opening to understand, and to understand the mitzvot and the commandments of the Torah through understanding, still a person should choose to treat it as a chukah, and do it out of simple emunah, simple faith, as if he doesn't understand. Because even though the Torah gives you an opening to understand, you know that there's endless levels of any mitzvah and its connection to God and the infinite service of Hashem. So because of that, there will always be questions. As much as it's explained, there's always beyond. So because of that, it's good to serve Hashem, it's proper to serve Hashem out of emunah. So you would ask, so then why does the Torah even tell us the meaning behind mitzvot? Let everything be in the status of a chok, of not understanding. Just do because we tell you to do, okay? So that would make sense, technically. But still, it's a few reasons. Number one, the Torah always seeks to uplift a person, to give him some taste. So since Hashem created man with a brain, with knowledge, and the ability to understand things and to learn and develop, etc., so the Torah gives a person that opening to understand in the Torah, but it leaves a room for the person through this. Now we want you to do it out of emunah, okay? Number two is that, like we're going to see coming up, for Hashem, the biggest thing is to join yedi'ah and what's called the he'ader ha'yedi'ah, knowledge and not knowing together. That for Hashem is the biggest thing. That you know something, but you really don't know it, and you join it together. For Hashem, this is the biggest thing. This is your gateway to perceive and to advance in life. When you're always seeking to join, which is obviously through emunah, the functioning of emunah, to know and yet not know, and I join it together. So we're going to see now in this paragraph that Rav Noson writes, this is the key for simcha. Okay? In lesson 24, he already tells us, Rabbi Nachman, that simcha is the prerequisite to this knowledge. Okay? Which is what happened in this case. We have Purim, which is simcha, and then Shabbat Para, which is the gift of joining knowledge and not knowing together. Because like we said earlier, the Paraduma didn't make sense. It made pure the impure and made pure the impure. That was the whole thing we read in the Parsha yesterday. Those Kohanim who were involved in preparing, and the Torah says they have to be pure men, and they become rendered impure. Okay? But then the other guy who was impure by touching a corpse, he becomes pure. So the same thing makes a Kohen pure impure, and then makes the guy who's impure pure. What's going on? Rav Nosson says it's impossible to understand this. Okay? This is the representation for all the Torah, for all of Judaism, for all of life. That you have the areas of life where there's clarity, things are clear. If it's a family life, parnasa, health, avodat Hashem, davening, things are amazing and clear. And there's the parts of life where things are just so upside down. And what's expected of you is to join them together through emunah. That there's the parts I know, parts I don't know, and they're both part of the picture, and they work together. So here Rav Nosson is going to say, this is what leads to a person to have simcha. On a simple level, because you're willing to accept this dual functionability of life, where things make sense and things don't make sense, and they're both together. So you're always turning to emunah, and because the emunah here is like a consolation, so you have simcha. You're happy with that already, okay? And that's why he's saying now it leads to simcha, and once you access this simcha, which is after accepting through emunah the contradictions of life, the where there's clarity and there's no clarity, and you join them together. So this leads to a higher level of simcha. To get there, you needed simcha, which is the idea why Purim is before Parshat Parah. Purim, the simcha of Purim, is a prerequisite to come to the purification of the Parah Aduma, which is all contradictions are joined together, and you accept them both together with emunah, simple faith. This leads now to another degree of simcha, which will now open up to you, like he's going to say now, the 9 chambers. Let's take a look at Rav Nosson. Okay, this is, let's say, the third section in paragraph 19 of discourse number 4. So he says like this, Rav Nosson. Through specifically this attitude of treating all the Torah like a chok, where you understand and where you don't understand, you do everything out of emunah, because you know that even where you understand, there's going to be points where you don't understand. So already, when learning and understanding the Torah, the laws of the Torah, the precepts of the Torah, and the explanation given, you're still doing it out of emunah. This specifically merits a person to joy. That it's specifically through this attitude that a person, this simcha, resulting in accepting all the Torah as statutes, even where the Torah explains, you still go into emunah mode in order to do it. This leads to simcha, and this simcha is the prerequisite, the key to perceiving the 9 chambers mentioned earlier in Likutey Moharan lesson 24. You create these 9 chambers in the format of reaching and not reaching, because you're already coming from that place. You're coming from a place where you know you're not in all the way. You're in and out, in and out, in and out. And this, what led you to a specific simcha due to that attitude. And this simcha now will allow you to perceive the 9 chambers also in and out now. Because that's how the only way to perceive it, like we said in the Likutey Moharan lesson 24, that you create chambers when you're pushed back, when you have a setback. In our context, when things are not clear, and like they pull the carpet from under your legs and your feet, and you have no idea what's flying, and yet you continue through emunah. So this allows you to create the 9 chambers from the setback, and again fill it in the light, but the infinite light comes in and out, reaching and not reaching. Shesham, and Rav Nosson adds this dimension of explanation now. Shesham nichlal haredifa v'hame'akev yachad be'achdut gadol. That there, in this mode of creating the 9 chambers and perceiving in and out, it's a scenario, it's a level in life where the person's running of his mind to pursue and then being restrained, me'akev, are unified together in such a unity. There's no separation. You see everything as a package deal, and you accept the perceiving and the non-perceiving as one. You're not like just stages, but they're so woven together. By person, they're connected totally. Then everything I'm perceiving, there's the step forward and the step back. Step forward and step back, and that's how you perceive. Unbelievable. Unbelievable what he's saying here. Okay? That's where it's unified, the running of the mind and the refrainment of the mind together in a big unity. Visham nichlalin, Rav Nosson is elaborating better. Beautiful. Visham nichlalin venit yachadin kol hafkiim yachad. It's there when a person's holding at that level of simcha that leads him to create the 9 chambers in a format of reaching and not reaching. When he's at this level, that's where they are unified and become woven together, all opposites together as one. All opposites in life, the contradictions that are opposites, are joined together. V'chulam nichlanin b'achdo yitbarach, and they all the understanding and not understanding, the contradictions and accepting the package deal together, then this person's reaching a level where his mentalities, where it's perceiving and non-perceiving, become unified in Hashem's unity. Hashem is one, and you're having a duality experience of reaching and not reaching, understanding, not understanding, perceiving, not perceiving, things going smoothly and then not. All these things of two become unified in Hashem's unity because of your emunah and accepting both together as one, which you can understand. Doesn't make sense. You understand or you don't understand? No, I understand on the condition that I don't understand. It's joined together. Okay? And this is how a person becomes unified in Hashem's unity, and thus the gain is receive the perception of the infinite light into your life. Shining infinite light of, like Rabbi Nachman says in lesson 24, chayut v'shefa, life sustenance and bounty come to you. Okay? Shesham shoresh sod paraduma, and it's there that lies the secret of the Red Heifer. The Red Heifer, where it's two opposites together, like we said, shehi bechinat shnei hafachim benose echad, that the Red Heifer represents, is the biggest representation, the clearest representation that the Torah gives to us of two opposites in one unit, in one concept, in one thing, right? Two opposites in one concept. Ki, like we said earlier, mitahet tmeim umetamet tarim. The Red Heifer makes pure those who are impure, the person who came in contact with a corpse, umetamet tarim, and makes impure the kohanim who are involved in preparing it. They become impure. The same item that makes pure, that's what doesn't make sense. The same item. Don't say, oh, it's different stages. But it's the same ashes that they're working on. The exact same unit, constant matter, makes one pure, makes one impure. It doesn't make sense. This, rendering pure the impure and pure the impure, is drawn from the secret of this concept of the running of the mind and then the bashing back, the being restrained, mentioned above. And now he goes back to what he said earlier in paragraph 15. Shalidei shepagam bo adam harishon veifrid haridifa mina me'akev alidei achilat etz hadat v'chule, that now we're fixing the tikkun of the universe by doing this. Because it was through that first man, primordial man, Adam Arishon, blemished in separating the running of the mind from the restraint by eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge. He was commanded not to do so. But the snake enticed him, saying, you know why he's saying not to do so? Because it'll give you access to a level that only of good and bliss, of being like a god to create worlds, and in convincing him that it's something good, and Hashem is refraining him, and then man was questioning why is this being refrained from me? So don't tap from the tree, okay? But now the snake is giving me reasoning, logic to understand, and by the logic trying to understand, there's a separation between the pursuing of the mind, who wants to understand about the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the refrain, no, Hashem said not to touch it. So then by separating them, we're calling separation, that they can't be together. There's the rationale given to him by the snake, and he was supposed to just throw it into the cup of emunah, saying, sorry, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Or that his wife, Chava, pushing Adam to eat from the fruit tree of knowledge and him not waiting. Because also when a person doesn't wait, when a person has what's called dechikat hasha'ah, it's also separating the pursuing of the mind from the refrain. Because the person, I can't handle this, and it's not rational of the pressure I'm being pushed upon. I can't handle it rationally. And you expect it to be like a solid brick, a solid block. No, I'm not budging. But he couldn't handle that because the mind, the pursuing of the mind, to have things clear and calm and settled, can accept the pressure. No, you have to eat the fruit. Because he knew, Adam and Chava knew that if they were to wait until Shabbat, Hashem would give them access to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They had to pass that test of Friday, not eating from it. So there was a dechikat hasha'ah where the redifa, the pursuing of the mind, can accept the pain of the waiting. You see, most people who are very hype, if it's ADHD or hyper or whatever, so these people, the mind is running. And these people more than others are prone to dechikat hasha'ah, to forcing situations, to not waiting things out, not having the patience to wait. Because the mind is running so fast, they can't handle, it's like killing torture, the idea of waiting and then, being pressured, we're under pressure, not to collapse under pressure. It's more prone to these type of people. They can't handle it because their mind is running super fast, and there's a tendency to separate from the me'akev. They can't join them together. That's a big problem in the ADHD, by the way. The joining of the redifa and me'akev together, which goes in a very deep place, obviously. So this similar was the idea of the blemish, the taint of Adam HaRishon, that he didn't wait out, and he ate. He partook from the tree of knowledge. So Rav Nosson saying it's because in the mind there's a separation of the redifa, the running, and the me'akev. They're being separated. That was the blemish basically of Adam HaRishon. He was expected, no, stay put, burn. Yes, you can't handle it. Hold on. Join the redifa and the me'akev. Nachon, to pursue, to understand, clarity. Get off my case. Get off my back, snake. Get off my case, wife. Let me, just leave me alone. I'll eat from it. Just leave me alone. He said, no, I have to. He should have waited, and there's a restraint. I can't eat from it. Okay, so he by eating from the fruit, so he gave in, and that separated the redifa, the running of the mind to pursue, and the detaining, the restraint of the mind, the ma'akev. And because Adam HaRishon, who we are all included in, all of his offspring and descendants, so what he did had ramifications on the entire creation, the entire world, in that he drew death and impurity into the world. Because like Rav Nosson said earlier, the reason why death is an impurity, the reason why the body becomes degradable, it becomes broken up and consumed and broken down into the raw materials again, into ashes, into dust, and there's an impurity there, is because of the mind of that person, of not being able to have so unified the running and the restraining of the mind, which is why tzaddikim, high tzaddikim of a high caliber, who are at that level, their bodies do not decompose. That's an explanation to that. They're pure even after their passing. There's no tuma. Death, which invokes tuma, impurity, the impurity is caused, we said earlier, Rav Nosson, because of the chakirot, the skepticism, the atheism that a person allows into his mind of trying to pursue beyond his level, and by doing so, going into areas of atheism, because he can't understand in these areas, so he's stuck. He's stuck with no emunah, and just questions and rationale and logic, which is beyond his scope to comprehend, which is the idea of skepticism in philosophy and atheism. And the person let his mind go that far, as opposed to the me'akev, holding back. No, you're not allowed to go there. Even though you think you understand and you can pursue, no, you're supposed to be held back. You're supposed to accept it with emunah. The person doesn't restrain, he allows the mind to run. So this separates the redifa from the me'akev. This leads to tuma. This is what Rav Nosson added. But Hashem will continue with this in the next class. And in the meantime, if you do have any questions or comments, or you just want to say hi, or whatever, your feedback on this class, please reach out to me. WhatsApp only, private message only, +1. It's an American number, 732-800-1863. One more time, +1, 732-800-1863. Shavua Tov. Have an amazing week. B'ezrat Hashem.